Well, as you guys know, we always give you the best in interview and
Yes.
information. Today, we have another great interview with the consummate professionals over at Petra House. How are you doing this morning? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, 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 good. Tell me your name so I can get it right.
Lance Grow.
Hey, Lance, how are you doing? Now, my question is, are you supposed to be on the interview with Petra House or just you by yourself?
I don't know, honestly.
And he's honest. I love that.
So Lance, how you doing today?
I'm really good, my man. How about yourself?
Good, good. I laugh because everybody like, so, ooh, I'm tired this morning. I'm trying to get through this interview. Lance, tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
A 1031 exchange accommodator. So anytime people sell an investment property, they have capital gains tax. There's a number of rules in the IRS letter ruling that can help them avoid it. So that's what we do. We help you investors shelter the capital gains, help them invest and have more purchase power and keep more money instead of having to, cough up to 33% of all their profit and taxes.
Wow, wow. And so in this season, we're going through the pandemic. How have you been able to help people through the pandemic season to balance out everything?
We had to shift everything digital because quarantine really put a slowdown on real estate because people couldn't go and see properties, inspect and take a look at them. It really slowed things down. So we show people a little bit, hey, you can do this on a digital level. You don't have to go to the property. Somebody can go there for you. You can optimize it on a digital scale, and just trying to give people as much information as possible because the truth is, not too many people know about the 1031 exchange and how to shelter their taxes, and honestly, they're not thinking about it. So we became really active in shooting this information out, creating small videos, webinars, getting people, if we know their homes, just to actually stay home and get some education material that can help them with their investment property.
So check this out, man. I noticed in a certain neighborhood, there was a piece of property, a house was on it. They tore down the house, and it looked like they built like 8 condos. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So my question is, how do you know? Like, say for instance, if you have a house and you have a humongously large backyard, how do you know if you're able to rezone it or build on your property, tear your house down and build something different? How do you find out
So
about that?
if you own it privately, you definitely can take it down and rebuild. It's about how high can it go. So there's these things called air rights.
Mm.
So you would just have to check with your local county to see, hey, what's the limit of how high I can go. But tearing down and rebuild, people go nuts with that. But I think probably the main question you're asking is specifically in the black community right now, or minority communities, I'd say. There's actually a really big tax program called Opportunity Zones.
Hmm.
And basically, if you're living in these specific areas, then you get preferential tax treatment. It is specifically built for low income areas, which happen to hold a lot of minorities.
Hmm.
So it's the tearing down and rebuilding. It's real easy. Go to your county, but to find out, hey, do I live in one of these zones that's really preferential tax treatment?
Hmm.
It's as simple as going to our website. We have a map. Going to the U.S. Treasury website, they have a map. But it's a pretty big program going on right now.
So let me ask you this. I've noticed that I've been seeing a lot of building. Even over at on Imperial. Imperial is starting to
Yeah,
look a lot different, and even
yeah,
right next to Gentry, my sister there who had her beauty shop, she tore that down, and she's building on her property. They have all
yeah.
these big facilities. It was really kind of when I saw the property that was rebuilt where it used to be the club there, and they rebuilt that property. Is it how do we balance off the look of our community when these big properties are being built, but it kind of like it's like there, but everything else around it look like the old. How do we balance that look out? Is there a plan for that?
No, if you want it straight up, absolutely not. Zero plans.
Okay.
But the way I could say to balance it out is get involved. Some people get a little frustrated. They call it gentrification. Like, oh, these people are coming in, they're building it, and they're building something new, and then they're leaving the old stuff.
Hmm.
Well, why don't you take the old stuff and build it new yourself? A lot of people just don't understand. That's a natural progression of real estate. Real estate itself is always meant, like the policy behind all real estate is land must always be utilized. That's
Hmm.
literally the policy. The policy behind criminal law is protection, order. Policy behind torso,
Hmm.
personal injuries, making someone whole. If I slip fall on your property and due to your negligence, your recklessness, or your malice nature, then you have to make sure I'm whole. But property law is really simple. It's land must always be utilized. So when you see like Imperial also happens to be an opportunity zone, and you have a lot of investors taking their capital and wanting to defer and get those tax benefits. But in order to get those tax benefits, part of the rule is that they have to build or improve on the property. So they have to put something new, something equitable in there.
Hmm.
So you see a lot of that going on. When you see if people are saying like, "Hey, there's this brand new building next to this old building," and it's not balancing. Great, balance it off by tearing down the old building and putting something new. Creates more jobs, more opportunity, stimulates the economy. So that's my best advice to them.
Okay, my last question before I go over to Mr. Brown himself. I'm looking for about 10,000 square feet for our new facility. Hit a brother up if you know of a real good location. Need some property. I need parking
I
around it.
got an army. I got
Yeah.
an army for you.
All right, man. Let's get it on. All right,
Let's get it.
Mr. Brown, how you doing? Petra House up in the house.
Yes, sir. Good morning. How are you?
I am very blessed. I am very blessed. Let me just ask straight up, what encouraged you and decide and made you want to do Petra House?
Well, what made me want to do Petra House? Great question. I actually was part of building a homeless community at San Luis Obispo when I was going to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for construction management.
Hmm.
And the homeless population was doing what they do here in San Diego, what they call invisible. People who are out on the streets, but they don't really create problems, but they try to be invisible.
Hmm.
And so I got with a group of community advocates. We started with the police department, and I went around and I got 12 churches to give us 1 month each to allow us to bring the homeless into their fellowship halls.
Hmm.
And then I went out to Camp San Luis, which is a military base, and I got them to donate us these cots that military sleep on when they're out in the field. And so we got a group of volunteers together, and we just every night at 6 o'clock, we would take all the women and children first. We would take the veterans second, and then we would take any men that was left, up to 300 people. And so that program grew into a project called the Prado Road Project, which was a project where we actually got a building. We built it from the ground up, and we got the city to donate us that property, that land, and it was actually by their facility where they park all of the city vehicles.
Hmm.
And so that's how I got involved. And that program then became a city county program, and now it's a $3 million project that they do. And that was the start of the homeless program in San Luis Obispo, California.
So I'm not going to ask. Well, I am going to ask you. You were in college at that time when you had this vision to start this. What impacted you to make you see the homeless? Because normally when people go to college, they just about getting a degree and then getting a job. What brought them to your attention, and what touched your heart?
Well, the first thing that God put in my heart was the minorities. I was recognizing that it was low income, it was people of color, and they were underserved. And that just kept eating at me. And till one day I just went down. The police chief came and did one of those speeches on campus to our department, and I got a chance to talk to him one-on-one, and I just opened up the question in the middle of him doing an interview on campus, which threw him off guard because he wasn't ready for that question. I said, so what do you plan to do for the homeless here in San Luis Obispo? And the man looked at me. If eyes could kill and be the darts, he would have killed me on the spot, because he wasn't ready for the question, and he don't know where it came from, and he don't know what. In the middle of a construction management meeting, that I was asking a question about the homeless, and that was the start. So I went to the Black Student Union on campus, which I was at that time the president, and I gathered all of the few of us, the 1% at Cal Poly. I went to the fraternity there on campus and the sorority there on campus, and I just started gathering volunteers. And it started with one church gave us a kitchen, and we used to try to do what we called a people's kitchen, where we would feed. And we went to the food bank and got food, and that's kind of how we just pieced it together.
Man, you have been a visionary and a leader all the way from that. You was in the Black Student Union. You got the fraternity, sorority. You got the churches together. Now, it's exciting that took place, in San Luis Obispo. Now let's move to San Diego. You got this new, I won't say new, but Petra House. Let's talk about it.
Well, in 2010, I came down to San Diego following my kids. I had a son go to USC, a daughter to go to Point Loma, and I had two kids in college at the same time, and I could not manage that from San Luis Obispo. So I moved down here to Carlsbad, and I didn't see any of us. I mean, it's still like that here in Carlsbad. So I'm going like, where are the black people? So then I found out about, Skyline, Euclid, where I needed to go to be with my people. And I started hanging out in those areas, and I started seeing the same thing. So I started asking the same questions. What's going on with the black? Then they told me, homeless in this area really ain't the problem. It's downtown. So I started going downtown, seeing, in those days, 2010, it wasn't fashionable to help the homeless. There was nobody really after the dollars that they are after today to be a homeless. So my issue with the homeless population getting help, and don't let me get on my soap, but I need to say this. A lot of these nonprofits, and I don't want to call no names, but we just saw Urban League get $1 gazillion to help, homeless. And so I asked a question, and I haven't been invited back to any organization that's getting funded, because I said, what are your statistics? How many homeless are you really helping? To me, yes, God teaches us to give a fish sandwich. I mean, a fish and pole, not a fish sandwich. So I'm finding that these organizations are taking the money, but I'm not seeing any statistics or any oversight on what happens with the money. Yeah, they guidelines for getting the money, and they look really good on paper, but I'm not seeing no turnout. I'm not seeing homeless getting jobs. I'm not seeing homeless getting into the permanent facilities. Yeah, they got plenty of temporary facilities around. They'll throw up a tent and put 300 people in there and say, look at us. Well, to me, that's a Band-Aid. When in 2008, 2009, when a lot of these families lost their homes, and you wonder why the youth won't get involved in the homeless issue, is because their parents were the ones that they had to help pack up and get out of these homes that they were losing because they had the wrong types of loan. They had these interest rate loans that doubled, and they weren't fixed rates. So they lost, black wealth has been lost. So we roll it back to me being the past president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers and the current vice president of Southern California National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is our state organization, which is called KRAB, which Denise Mathis is doing a wonderful job. I was with her in NARAB, San Diego, and now I'm with her with KRAB, which is our state arm of National Association of Real Estate Brokers.
Well, man.
So what I'm really trying to say is, I'm really fed up with these organizations grabbing this money, and organizations that have a plan that can help people actually get homes, and people like land who can help us find land in opportunity zones. I'm not about us trying to come up with no money for this land. I'm about getting in the mayor's face, getting in the county council's face, and saying, donate the land. It's a write-off. It's on your books year in, year out. And how do you justify just keep rolling this land over on your books year in, year out?
So let me say this. First of all, to your daughter, shout out. I'm a Point Loma alumni too, so I had to shout her out real quickly. And then I want to just basically go to the fact that you're absolutely right. There's so many organizations, because they have been around for a period of time, seem to always get the funding, but always the numbers don't always look accordingly to the funding that they're getting. The question as we begin to move forward is, how do we change that narrative, because of the fact that, you mentioned KRAB and NARAB, and, I know Miss Mathis and also Derek Luckett, we're sitting on boards together. How do we as African Americans use our power-based structure now to begin to help one another to get to the next level? And I ask that because you got this power broker over here, Lance Gross, and so I believe he's here for as a power structure move. So let's talk about that. How do we do this?
Well, Lance is a lawyer, and he a power broker. When he walks in the room, it's an EF moment, because when I walk in the room, I'm just another black man, Greasy Will. But I walk in the room with
well, hold on, Mr. Brown. You a black man that live in Carlsbad, and everybody like saying there ain't that many black people in Carlsbad, so they be like saying, no, he ain't the typical, that we think. He in Carlsbad, so his wealth rate has to be a certain level. So they might look like you, but we know different, Mr. Brown. Come on now.
As my construction company, and I met Lance my first time out here, fell in love with this brother and friends, everything. I thought, and when I was president, every opportunity I tried to grab, and one of most of gives back. I stayed president for Lance. I say this. Well, what am I?
Mr. Brown, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah.
But Lance, he said every chance he get, he give you a call, because he said when you walk in the room, it's like an E.F. Hunt moment. Everybody go, so talk about that, brother. Walking into the room and all, instead of all the, how they say, all the men all pause, all the people pause when you walk into the room.
I've just been pretty aggressive about trying to get things done, and I'm pretty active, and especially with me and my team, it is we don't really pull any punches, and we're serious about what we're trying to do, and we've had a lot of success doing it. So like even with the opportunity zones, we're pretty aggressive. We're like, hey, this thing is literally built for people in the minority area to give people tax benefits, and we make sure we educate people as aggressively as we can, and then we give them instructions on how to utilize this and actually take advantage of it. So when you ask the question, how do people get a seat at the table? How do they actually, take a turn and start utilizing things to really, really gain some wealth and value? We don't play about trying to say, hey, we'll tell you, no problem. Here it is. We're not trying to hide the ball here. So I think that's just it. We're pretty aggressive about trying to help our community.
So I'm gonna be on both of y'all. I'm gonna be your poster child right now and ask this question. Okay, we're moving our organization and we're looking to buy a building. We need 10,000 square feet. We right now we're in Claremont. We need some parking around with multi-use because we're gonna have an entertainment complex. Can y'all find me some property so that either we can buy or build?
Well,
Yeah,
that-
give me a call. We'll connect you. Got an army of guys at off-market listings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we would do first to help you with that is we would look at like what Lance said is off-market land. I have a construction company. We'll write you a profile of how you're going to use that land. You're a minority, so we're going to play the black card because you give this land to eminent domain when they want to widen the freeway. So why can't we take this same land and allow ourselves to be community advocates and do something for the homeless? Because what I could say that if we build this together as a team, the one thing we can do is we can show how we can give homeless jobs. We can get their hours through construction to put them into the union. We can use the ADU auxiliary dwelling unit format to help get the permits. It's a whole lot of things we can do to help you get into a new building. But you got to remember, we have to leave our egos at the door. When black people work together, the teamwork and the synergy comes from a guy like Lance. He's straight, no chaser. What you see is what you get. He's a lawyer. He's not going to give you that sweet answer. He's going to give you the real answer. And I'm the same way. That's why they call guys like Lance and myself, outliers. Because we don't run with the pack. We don't do things just because it's cool and fuzzy. We do it because there's a need, and you have a need, brothers. So if we show how you take a building that has no lighting outside, and we write a contract that we're going to put LED lighting in the parking lot so you can have a day and a night use, all of a sudden now you're in an opportunity zone to create jobs. You're not going to just have a building for Gospel One. You're going to invite all of the nonprofits to rent from you at a discounted price, maybe a startup price where they don't pay nothing to get there in the beginning. We just got to write it up the correct way, brother. And we can do a building and own the land.
There you go. And here's the thing that I always like, when you say let your egos at the side, I consult for a lot of different organizations. And the funniest thing is I walk into the room because in my organization, I'm an alpha male. I walk into the room anytime I'm consulted. I walk in and say, "Who's the alpha male here? I want to make sure we point you out so that you can be okay." And they start laughing. They be like, "I said, cause I don't want nobody to start beefing on who's the alpha male. This is who gonna be it today." And they laugh at it. But that's the key thing about us growing together is literally being okay that the alpha male position shifts based on the needs of the organization. And when you come in, just because Lance is good looking, and he a lawyer and everything, you don't get jealous of Lance. You just be like, "Hey, Lance, what's happening, brother?" You the alpha male. Mr. Brown come in, he live in Carlsbad. You be like, "All right, Mr. Brown, we love you." It's just important that we learn how to support one another. And I always call it being cheerleaders of one another, because when we talk good of each other in these areas where we're with the mayor or the governor or whatever, then it eliminates them being able to separate us. By trying to pit us against each other. A lot of times we get pit against each other because they throw a little money somewhere, some way over here, and then they start talking about each other. I love this plan of us coming together as family and respecting each other. So, Mr. Brown, I'm excited about what you're doing with Petra House. I'm looking forward to being a part. Lance, you already know, man. It's just gonna be hotter than fish grease. What we're gonna be doing. And I just want to say to you, both you African American leaders, that we're here at GLD Radio 1 to continue to support and continue to talk. Both of you guys, we're going to need to get you on other shows like Let's Talk About It and everything else, because this is great information. And we also want to make sure that when you guys are doing the training and the webinars or the information gives, that we make sure that we get it out there so people are tuning in, because a lot of people don't know about the opportunity zones. And what you're talking about, Mr. Brown, is creating generational wealth that's going to bless the homeless, not only the homeless, but the community at large. And that's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that, but Lance actually has a full presentations that he can do and teach. And one of the things that him and his team do very well is they teach. They don't just talk the talk, they walk it. So if you ever get an opportunity, he does them monthly around the county, and he can give you that schedule. He can email it to you, and maybe we three need to meet at one of Lance's trainings so you can see for yourself, because it won't do you justice to hear what Lance does without seeing what he does. Because after you see it, you're gonna walk out of there like I always do, and he's one of my better friends. He always has my head spinning on what I need to do next, because, his team is very diverse. You don't see a lot of attorney practices like his. Usually the blacks keep all the black lawyers together, or the Asian keep all the Asian. No, Lance got a little bit of salt and pepper and everything up in his. He
got the full seasoning packet, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of hot sauce.
Lance, he telling on your business. He said he got a lot of seasoning plus hot sauce. So that's amazing. So I know that we can talk forever. Let's reschedule again. Let's get back together. Lance, if you can get us the information, or get your information to us. I want to do some additional things with you, my friend. Mr. Brown, we got to meet face to face. Everybody been talking about, you need to meet Mr. Brown. You need to meet Mr. Brown. Well, now we get to meet each other, but I'd love to break bread with you and have coffee with you, and let's see how we can work together with this Petra House.
Well, just know that just make the time. Let me know. I will be there. I will be at any event. And Lance, thank you so much for getting up this early. I know you only usually do this to get in front of a judge.
I'm not judging you, brother. I'm not judging you.
No, I'm talking about going to court. Only time he's up this time of morning is he putting a tie and a suit on, because Lance is a very casual brother. He don't dress unless he have to.
Well, y'all, this was none other than Lance Gross, as well as Mr. Brown, Petra House. These two dynamic men have got together to do amazing things for our community. We're looking again for many, many more great opportunities to interview them. And let me just, last but not least, Lance, how can they connect with you? Can you put your information out there, and then Mr. Brown, will you follow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ours is really simple. You can give us a call at 619-991-1031, or you can visit our website at growth1031.com, which is growth, GROWTH 1031.com.
All right. And Mr. Brown?
We are petrahouse.net. You can just go online. You can reach me, 805-550-7055. I pick up for any and every call, and I'm available at any and every time when there's a situation that requires a community advocate.
Well, there you have it. Petra House and Lance Growth is right here on GOD Radio 1. We had the big ballers up in the house. Well, you know what? I'm going to call on Sheila Mosley right now, because she said the best. And we're going to go back to some great gospel music right here on GOD Radio 1.com.